Today is September the 18th, 2024. This is Carmen bringing you your daily Bloodborne Remaster update. No news on a Bloodborne Remaster today. Not really any news on the emulator. I covered all that over the last couple of updates, all the new stuff. But today I am going to ramble a little bit about some gaming news that has been going on Twitter today. That is about Final Fantasy and its sales. So Square Enix has said today, FF16 and 7 Rebirth did not meet its expectations, and this makes sense, especially for 16. 16 was probably, $150 million, $200 million, something like that. And it sold like maybe 5 million copies, I think it was. Not the worst ever, but should be better. And, if you've been around the channel for any, amount of time at all, I love Final Fantasy. It's my bread and butter. I love it more than anything. Even though Souls games are what I play the most of by far, I play Souls games more than anything else. To me, everything I'm playing that's not Final Fantasy is filler until the next Final Fantasy, because this series just means that much to me. And if Final Fantasy was to go away, I feel like I would lose all of my drive for gaming. I feel like I would lose interest in Souls. I would lose interest in everything else I play, because I would not have that thing to look forward to. I would lose out on that thing. And I know nothing lasts forever, but I'm really hoping it does. So Square Enix has said that Rebirth and 16 fell short of expectations. 16 did do better than Rebirth. I don't like 16. It's my least favorite game ever. It's for a whole lot of reasons. I'm not going to waste time talking about it on this. I got a whole video from like 8 months ago talking about why I hate Final Fantasy 16. And I gotta say, Rebirth is one of the best games I've ever played. It's fantastic. Came out in February. Loved it. Took a week off of work to play it. Was not a waste of time. One of my favorite games ever. Top 5 for sure. Again, one of the best games ever made. Top to bottom, great combat, great story, great characters, great side activities. Actually, a really good open world. If you got a PS5, there's no game I can recommend higher than Rebirth on the PlayStation 5. It's the best game to release since Sekiro. It was a very, very good game. Love it a lot. If you got a PS5, I highly recommend it. But what exactly is kind of the issue with the sales of this series? It's definitely going to come down to marketing more than anything. I may not like Final Fantasy 16, and I think most of the game is pretty trash, but it really is a marketing issue. I saw people saying back in February, what are you talking about? Rebirth comes out in 2 weeks. Dude, I had no idea. It's a lack of marketing. And, Rebirth was never going to put up the numbers that Remake did, because it's the middle part of a remake trilogy, okay? It's the middle part of a remake trilogy. I need to say that a second time because it sounds crazy to expect crazy sales out of that. But then they went and made one of the best games ever made. This is just a lot of rambling to just kind of get it off my chest that I really hope this turns around for Square, and I don't know what they could do different. I would say that consistency is something that the series definitely needs, because we're kind of, back in the day, bouncing from theme to theme did kind of help it. Going from kind of like fantasy and steampunk with Final Fantasy VI, going to steampunk and cyberpunk with 7, back to some like high-tech fantasy with 8, back to just high fantasy with 9. It helped it back then, but there's been a certain decline over the last 20 years in the Final Fantasy brand, and this definitely started with Final Fantasy 12, I would say. And a lot of people don't even talk about 12 these days, so I guess you could say it started with 13. I don't think 13 was a bad game, but it was the wrong game to come out at that time, that's for sure. When everything was going big in open world, they dropped the most linear game in existence. And it really sunk the series for a minute there. And then we had the whole 14 fiasco, and then 14 came back, and then we had 15, which was hated by a lot of people, not me. I love 15, and then that did really well. And then we had 16, which was very different from 15. And then we had the 7 remake games, which is very different from that. And I think a big issue that the Final Fantasy brand is suffering from is the modern audience. They need consistency. Let's be real. A lot of the casual gamers that buy these games and keep these companies alive, they got monkey brains, okay? They cannot... what was going on back in the 90s and with Final Fantasy, you can't do that anymore. I feel like the modern audience is actually less sophisticated now than they were then, and it's just not going to work. The brand needs to change. It needs to be extremely consistent, and I hate that because I do love how different the Final Fantasies are, but at this point, I am only concerned with the survival of the company of Square Enix, so that way they can make more Final Fantasies. I'm going to wrap this up soon. It's been 5 minutes of rambling. Sorry. This is what I am passionate about. This is my baby. This is my series. This is everything to me. And you know what the series really needs is just kind of a unification. Just keep, like, I think Gene Park on Twitter said he told senior staff at Square Enix, please keep building on the remake combat system. You need to do it. And he's right. You know, you have these Final Fantasies with these different combat systems. You know, we have 15, what was it called? Like the Active Cross system, I think it was called. I like 15's combat. Then you had 16. It's a very shallow, it's a poor man's, it's a hobo's Devil May Cry. And then you had Rebirth, one of the best combat systems ever made, but it's a turn-based hybrid. Turn-based action combat hybrid, again, one of the best combat systems ever, but again, we're suffering from an issue of a lack of consistency here. We're bouncing from like one game with one theme and one combat system and one aesthetic to another game with another theme and another combat system to another, and I just kind of feel like the series needs to get unified a little bit. So I'm gonna stop rambling here. Maybe I'll make a full video about this. Sorry to cram it all in a daily update. Again, this series is just what I care about. This is like daily Bloodborne Remaster update. Yeah, I care about it. You know, we've been doing it for almost 1,200 days. Yeah, I really care about it. I don't care about it half as much as I care about Final Fantasy. That much is for sure. Hopefully the mic's not creaking and making noise. I don't care about it half as much as I care about Final Fantasy. So I'm sorry to hijack this update to Rant, but yeah, I'll probably put something in the title about it. So yeah, overall, I think what Final Fantasy needs to make a comeback and for the company to survive is they just kind of need to be consistent with the series, and as much as I hate to say it, they do need to unify it a little bit. Maybe Final Fantasy needs to feel a little bit samey for a few years. It does, because it's an anthology series, and I've always loved that, but that's not going to work on the modern audience. Like I said, I feel like the modern audience is actually less sophisticated now than they were 25 years ago. So, yeah, I hate to say it, but they do. Anyways, I'll stop rambling. 7 minutes and 5 seconds. All right, we gotta get out of here. There's no news on a Bloodborne Remaster today. Obviously, I'll put like a disclaimer in the title, maybe in the thumbnail, that this is a rant video about something completely unrelated. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get out of here though. No news on a Bloodborne Remaster today. That's been your daily Bloodborne Remaster update for September the 18th, 2024. And again, if you have a PS5, I implore you to check out Rebirth. Y'all take it easy.